Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the regular council meeting, August 17th, 2026. We respectfully acknowledge we are on the unceded ancestral land of Kainai Tane, on whose land this meeting is taking place. We have quite a lot of items added to the agenda, 91 items altogether. So I hope my council, you've seen it, and it will be formed as a part of the agenda package. So I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councilor Bennett, seconded by Councilor Frizzell. All in favor? Oppose? Carry. Minutes. Adoption of the regular council meeting minutes, July 20th, 2026. Moved by Councilor, seconded by Councilor Polillo. All in favor? Oppose? Carry. Consent agenda, C1, Kerry Jane Park Modernization Program. And we have another item on senior government downloading legislation changes since January 2026. Is there any councilor would like to pull this? Councilor Bennett, you would like to pull C1?
If I can pull C1, please,
C1?
quickly.
Okay, Councilor Bennett, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Worship. And really, this is just, I know we've talked over the last couple of years about the project at Kerry Jane Gray Park, and just really good news and kudos to staff for their work on securing the funding for this project. And I know that work is already underway now. I saw a notice posted on City's Facebook about some traffic disruptions due to work with the pump track or with the BMX track. So again, just thank you and kudos to staff for their work on securing a fairly significant grant for this project.
Thanks very much, Mayor Yu, through to Councillor Bennett. Yes, several staff were involved in the grant application, did fantastic work, obviously, and just to note that the $7 million is the maximum amount that's available under this program, and we understand it was very heavily oversubscribed, so just very pleased with the result and looking forward to next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to the completion of this great project for the City of Prince George. Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wondering, with this project, are we going to be seeing like a life cycle cost analysis like we asked for in Sustainable Policy 8.3?
Yes, Councillor Klassen.
Thank you.
Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I just want to say kudos to staff. Yes, the sustainable, the fund was oversubscribed 8-1. So there was a significant oversubscription to the Sustainable Priorities Fund. Many communities applying, not enough funds to go around. So it just, I think, shows that the grant application the city put forward was really top-notch. So good on our staff for really putting those resources there. I guess the one question I have, I know within one of the previous iterations of the report, there was some landscape mapping that kind of showed what the upgrades might look like, but I just wonder if there are going to be, when there might be drawings available that might show some of the features that the public might get excited about. I think it's just really an exciting opportunity to enhance the area, and with the the turf field. So just Mr. Babbage or Mr. McIntosh.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'll ask Mr. McIntosh if he has any information he can share at this point, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. Currently, crews are starting the site servicing that will service the proposed field and ancillary buildings in the area. We'll likely see detailed design in 2027 along with a construction estimate, and at that time we probably have a better idea of what the final product will look like.
Thanks, Mr. McIntosh. And I believe there was a note in the report that the budget will still have to be approved by council in next budget iteration. So is there any risk to this grant fund if that budget isn't approved?
There's always risk, Your Worship. The plan would be to complete the detailed design and field a capital project submission in 2028 with final numbers available then.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. C2, does somebody post C2? No one? Yeah, but you, Councilor Skegan.
Well, thank you, Worship, and perhaps Councillor Frizzell, who's been leading the charge with the other members of the Intergovernmental Committee. The downloading and offloading costs, I appreciate administration bringing this back because it is a sad reality, and it's happening more and more. So, I mean, we looked at the employer health tax. We looked at a number of other costs facing the city, and those are costs that we have to absorb. We're not given any compensation from the city. Basically, they say, we're changing legislation, here you go. I think Bill 44 was also introduced in here for development services. It's going to be extra work, extra cost. And there's some people on social media today saying, well, you know, don't fund it. It's not our responsibility. But if we don't do things like work with you know, BC Housing, say like we did with the, which will eventually be a wraparound health center on First Avenue. A lot of those folks wouldn't have been taken off those streets. Those folks might not have entered into some of these recovery programs. And it's part of sort of a long-term vision, in my opinion. But there is a cost, Your Worship, and the province is just, it's challenging. They had, you know, there was a decriminalization, which basically created a free-for-all on our streets. And our bylaw services staff, our businesses, everybody paid dearly for it. Now they're trying to put the, you know, change things back to criminalizing it. And it's had such an effect on, a negative effect on our community. So bylaw services, I think I mentioned, you know, the extra work for them. All our staff, park staff, cleaning up things. And a couple of big items that were mentioned in here was the encampment management. I think it was 1.6 million. And I don't think the legal fees were particularly broken down, but we also had a bunch of efforts put into Millennium Park, getting that shut down. So it's a lot of work, and in the end, I guess the province is basically saying, you guys do it, or it doesn't get done. And at the end of the report, it says local taxpayers pay, I think, 12% of the overall government taxes, yet we're shouldering more of the responsibility, and I think our intergovernmental committee has been doing, you know, a great job going to senior governments and saying, no more, we can't take it. And another issue that I think was identified was that Northern Homeowner Grant tax. I think there's $5 million for extra taxpayers. The industrial properties, when they're decommissioned, they can have it so that they reduce their taxes by 90%. You know, not long after a shutdown. So there's a bunch of things, I think, legislative changes, more pushbacks to senior governments and saying we can't do this. But at some point, you know, we have a decision to make. Are we going to fund these programs? Or are we going to give the RCMP extra personnel to deal with this? It's also in the report, the fire services. 50-some% of the calls are for drug-related issues. And that wasn't like that 5 or 10 years ago. And it's taken away from doing all other sorts of preventative work, Your Worship. So I appreciate this report, and just a couple quick questions, and people asked about it today with the, there's the mental health, how you calculated sort of the mental health costs, you know, to staff. So psychological injury claims, and is that when, you know, someone goes on WorkSafe? Like I'm just trying to get a better idea. The 1.1 million in claims costs. So that's additional claim costs on top of the regular, not fees we charge WorkSafe, but if Mr. Dalio could explain that. Because I know we are going the other way with regards to WorkSafe and an approved safe work environment, but just those extra costs and how we pay for them.
Sure. The claim costs are, sorry, this is more of a human resources
Yeah.
expertise, so I'll try. When an employee goes on leave, we of course have costs, and they may be expensive because you might need specialists to deal with it, or just professional expertise. So when those costs are tracked, they also feed into the WCB premium rate that we have to pay. So that premium rate is based off of an industry standard, so the municipalities sort of have an industry rate. And then there's also your own individual performance as a municipality that affects the rate that you pay. And that would be a percentage of your gross payroll kind of thing. So all of these things can drive those costs forward.
And I guess just to highlight this, is it safe to say that more of those costs would be associated with, say, bylaw services or park staff that have to take the brunt of this? Without drilling down too deep?
Yeah, no, I don't want to get into too many specifics. It could be any kind of one of our employees that might maybe incur post-traumatic stressful situations, for example. So I think first responders might be a good example of that.
Great, thank you. And I think some of my like DNA analysis, I can go on and on, but I think it's a good report. It would have been nice to get it back sooner, but I know staff has got a big workload. I think this is something that we could perhaps, biannually or something, just come up with this tally sheet saying, this is what it cost us from January to June this year, so people get an updated sort of ticker tape on these extra costs. But we have to push back. No matter what, these senior governments are just, they're going to dump things on us, and we got to fight back as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Skaken. Councillor Fazell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu, and thank you, Councillor Skaken, also Councillor Sampson and Councillor Scott on Intergovernmental for taking a follow from Williams Lake, because Williams Lake has been doing this on a regular basis, and seeing the success that they've had with getting the information out is great, but that just sets the table. We've got a lot of work to do, and first item would be to make sure that we refer this to the incoming Standing Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs as they put together their strategic plan. Through to Mr. Babich, what would be the most effective way to make sure that this information helps inform the next strategic planning session for the new council?
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Frizzell. So staff design and plan strategic planning sessions based on the existing strategic plan and initiatives that believe that council has moved forward. If council wishes to ensure that this is part of that plan, then a motion could be passed this evening to ensure that happens. But either way, staff would be bringing forward this issue. It's significant, it's ongoing, and it's getting increasingly more burdensome in terms of the finances for local governments.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, what this report really sheds light on is that the agreement that we have, that the distant order of governments, the senior orders of government, are supposed to have their budgets, and they're really reactive because they're based on income tax, they're based on sales tax. So when the economy is expanding, their revenues expand. And when the economy contracts and you go into recession, there's contracts, and property tax doesn't react as quickly. And what seems to be happening repeatedly over the last 18 years has been, there are only 2 times when the senior orders of government are dipping into property taxes, and that's when the economy is expanding and when the economy is receding. So we're getting it all the time. We see it now in healthcare with the contributions from property taxation to Northern Health for capital projects, and massive capital projects at that. And we see that in the millions and millions of dollars that city taxes are having to pay for provincial responsibilities. This has to inform the next council coming in, and because we don't have another critical meeting of the intergovernmental affairs between now and then, we're absolutely going to be taking this with us when we go to UBCM. But I move that this be added to the orientation and form a part of the strategic planning for the next council. We can't lose track of this.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Councilor Frizzell. I have a motion on the floor. I still have a list of speakers, so I'm gonna, if anybody want to speak to the motion, no. Yeah. So I'm gonna call the question first. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. Councilor Polillo, floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to follow up on what Councillor Skaken and Councillor Frizzell mentioned, but in particular, bringing a highlight to the Northern Homeowner Grant. That is $4 million that our residents of Prince George will have to pay without this $200 grant. It is massive impact, and I don't think that issue has been highlighted enough. I mean, we're trying to do our best as a council. We have a UBCM resolution that we'll speak to when we get there in September, and you'll see in our correspondence that we have support from the District of Kitimat and City of Quesnel to our UBCM resolution. But that is significant, but not only significant for the residents of Prince George, but outside of, really, as in the report speaks to it, it's really outside of the capital, Metro Vancouver, Fraser Valley regional districts as well too. If we can't get this reversed, it's going to have like far-reaching implications, not only for our city and our region, but most of British Columbia. Like, this is a massive hit, and I don't think people really understand what it's going to mean to individual taxpayers. And I know on my recently elected role to North Central Local Government Association, it's on our radar, and we're going to be working with the City of Prince George. We're also going to be working advocacy at UBCM, talking to ministers, realizing how important it is to the entire region as well, outside of Prince George. But of course, with Prince George being the largest member of the association, has a larger impact with our residents. But that is significant, $4 million. And, you know, just quickly doing the math, over $26 million in this downloading report. And I would suggest that that's probably conservative. I mean, in many respects, it's really hard to judge these downloading costs. But I think staff has really done a great job. Kudos to staff to putting this together. And I know this is going to be a big talking point and a big thrust for our advocacy at UBCM. And it is really, really valuable information. But just wanted to hopefully point out that Northern Homeowner Grant. And, you know, I know we have media here in the room that I don't know, I think some people have covered it, but I think it deserves more attention because it's going to have a really massive impact if we can't get the government to reverse their decision. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councilor Polillo. Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple things from me. So I think the report touched briefly on it, but there's a comment in there around 12 cents of every dollar paid to income tax is what really goes to local governments. And so it's not a lot of money that we have in order to fund all of the services that it takes to fund the city. You know, FCM, I sit on that board as the president of UBCM, and we've done a lot of advocacy in Ottawa around increasing the contribution, even if just a couple cents to local governments. We really know that the financial model for property tool collection is just so outdated. UBCM does have a local government financial review working group, and we're doing advocacy on behalf of all the local governments across British Columbia. We meet semi-annually with the finance minister as well as the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs in order to try and make progress on some of those issues that were identified in the initial report that came as a white paper at UBCM. So there are policy changes, and I think it's really evident throughout this report. There's policy changes that the province makes that impact the local government across the province. You know, body-worn cameras is a really good example in the report. I was sitting on local government contract management committee. These are confidential meetings. It's not confidential anymore because the information's been released, but, you know, I was sitting in this meeting and, you know, told Prince George, oh yeah, they're gonna roll out the body-worn cameras, they're gonna be phase 0. And this is the first time I'm hearing about it, and, you know, I don't even think Prince George knows about it. And so, you know, finding out that there's all these plans to roll out body-worn cameras, and, you know, it's going to cost $3,000 a member. We've got, you know, roughly 120 members. Every one of them needs a body-worn camera. So, you know, I think the report says we've got between 105 and 110 cameras, at $28.97 per camera. And the resources for processing the footage is supposed to be borne by the province, and yet there's not enough capacity to do it. And so we see in our budget enhancement requests from the RCMP in order to provide more municipal services funded by the taxpayer dollars that allow them to process the amount of footage they have. And so there's continuous asks of the local government, and we're already spread so thin. The property tax model that we have was never intended to fund the type of items that we're funding right now. And so it is becoming increasingly difficult to prioritize what we spend money on. And of course, we want to solve the problems that people come to us with, but at some point we do have to push back on the jurisdiction, because the more we take on, the less the province is going to continue to manage and govern and fund. And so it is increasingly challenging seeing supports cut for nonprofits. I sit on the Minister of Poverty Reduction Advisory Committee, and one of the things we see continuously there is just reduction in services for nonprofits that are trying to fill the gap and the void on a lot of these services. And it's just, with their funding being reduced, with our funding being diverted, it's no wonder we have a crisis on our hands. So I do think that this report is really important to form a basis of advocacy, that as we go into these meetings, it's not just the City of Prince George saying these are the downloading costs we're experiencing. Kelowna, Victoria, a number of municipalities, especially in our peer group, have come out with similar reports saying the same thing. And I think using these advocacy bodies that we're a part of, as well as our Intergovernmental Relations Committee, to present a united front, to go to the province, to go to the federal government and say enough is enough, like we really need you to pull your weight here. That just needs to happen, and we need to see some action from our MLAs, from our MPs advocating for us in Ottawa, in Victoria, to make sure we're making progress on this, because this is it's going to be increasingly challenging. The more and more legislation that is amended, the more and more downloading that occurs through policy, it's going to continue to eat municipal dollars, and we are not going to be able to fund our critical infrastructure needs. So I think, Mayor Hugh, that's all I have to say on it. I'll get off my soapbox, but it's really a big red flag for us right now. So thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Worship. And I don't want to re-echo the points that my colleagues before me made, but there's two that I quickly wanted to touch on. One is, and I'm surprised Councillor Frizzell didn't speak to it, but is the library funding. It's been frozen for well over 15 years. And we know and hear and can see the critical impact that the library has on our community. And that funding doesn't necessarily increase at the rate in which even inflation increased. But to put this, I think, a little bit more into perspective, and while you can't necessarily compare it apples to apples, when I'm looking at the report, I look at the legislative and regulatory changes over the last 4 years. This isn't necessarily additional support being provided to residents. This is not, Councillor Kagan gave some really good examples of things that the city has gone in partnership with the province on just to meet the needs of our residents. These are legislative changes that have just added more cost to our residents. And that equals $7.2 million over the last 4 years. To put that in perspective, if you were to think about this last year, what 1% of our annual tax levy is, that equates to 4.86. That's equal to 4.86 or 4.86%. This past year, our annual tax levy was 4.94. So to put that in, and again, you can't necessarily compare it apples to apples, but what we're seeing right now is a lot of our tax levy increase is being spent just to address legislative changes that government has made to implement and impact local government. So I would just echo, I think, the points of my colleagues that there is I think, a serious need for ongoing advocacy, both at UBCM and over the next 4 years, not just for the downloading that we're seeing, but that local governments are continuing to be consulted when new legislative changes come in, because I'm sure there's more on the radar that are going to impact local governments over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bennett. Councilor Sampson.
Thanks very much, Mayor Yu, and I agree with all that's been said, and I think government's looking to take the easy way out, and that's being proven through a number of these comments that have been made. Another example is new PST being charged on professional and consumer services starting October 1st. That costs residents and citizens of BC more money and municipal governments more money, 7% more on things that we haven't previously paid PST on. And I'm glad the Northern Homeowner Grant came up. That's a substantial amount of money that on a decision the province made, which is going to, in my opinion, cripple Northern taxpayers in a time where we're trying to step up and be open for opportunity that's going to change Western Canada's economy, Northern BC's economy, British Columbia's economy. And we're already the financial backbone of our province. And these types of relatively last minute knee-jerk decisions from the province, while they can't figure out their own finances that cost Northern residents more, place an disproportionate burden on Northern taxpayers, but also really puts us behind the 8 ball in the work that all Northern communities are trying to do right now to step up to the occasion and boost our provincial economy, not just for ourselves, but to help all of BC thrive better. And so this is the kind of policy change that just kills progress, and we have to reverse it. And I won't belabor that more, it's been said, but it's got to be done. It's got to be reversed, and there's going to be a lot of Northern communities stepping up to that conversation this fall. I think this report's critically useful, and it's a re-up on some of the previous numbers we've had before. We've been leveraging those numbers relentlessly through intergovernmental affairs as a council, and just to really appreciate staff's work to re-up the numbers and get us new stats that we can present. I'm going to make another motion, and that's surrounding having staff create a one-page or maybe a two-sided document that we can utilize in our meetings with government over the next couple months here, particularly at UBCM. That kind of document proved extremely valuable. Yeah, thanks to Councillor Scott for seconding. That kind of document proved extremely valuable in our conversations in Ottawa, something that's concise but has the facts and the data, easily to digest, and is just a tool to get that message across and give them something tangible to remember it by. So I think if we can get staff to put together this in a really concise, easy to read, but gets the core facts across document for UBCM, that would be fantastic. So that motion being on the floor, I'll just keep the rest of my comments short. The last one being, I think a lot of these conversations need to happen with the Minister of Finance. And it's not the first time saying this here. We've had all of zero luck meeting with the Minister of Finance over this last term. They will not meet with us. I think it's under really horrible reasons, and my thoughts and heart go out to the minister for having to step back from her role right now as she goes through some health challenges, and so I want to express that my thoughts are with her, but there's an opportunity here with a new person stepping into the role of finance minister that we can get ourselves in front of them and share our points with somebody who's proven to be willing to meet with local governments before from the government table. What those results are going to be are undetermined, but at least I'm more confident than ever that we'll be able to get the meeting and make the fight and make the case for Prince George with that minister. So Minister Osborne, who's stepping in. So this government needs to hear from us, particularly the Minister of Finance. And so we've already been doing work with trying to get meetings at UBCM. I understand those are already in, but I'm going to make a separate motion after to send a follow-up letter to the new Minister of Finance too. So first, we'll deal with this one. Thanks.
Thank you. I see no more people in the queue. So I'm going to leave the motion. Ladies, you might want to add some stuff onto it. For the people, for the information, a few years ago, many of our cities starting to, in the province, start realize the burden on the municipalities is getting bigger and bigger. It's become a problem for them to do a lot of things correctly. So in case like Victoria, what they did is that they just send an invoice. They collect this information. So we have a choice here. Tonight we can send an invoice to the Minister of Finance from us for $26 million plus or minus to get their attention, if nothing else. Having said that, I always believe we're living in a democracy. There, in the bottom line, there's only one taxpayer, and there's only one government. The proudest thing that we've done as a council in the past couple of years is that we, as a group, we had a very detailed MOU we signed with our MLAs, MPs, regional districts, our First Nation partners here, and to basically to recognize that that document really, it is to say, when it comes to problem like this, we need to work together at all level of government. We need to have a better data. We need a better way to find a way to say which level of government, through what kind of funding, can solve this particular problem, whether it's mental health, whether it's homelessness. In terms of downloading the words, is really, today we can call it downloading, and also it's where's the reference point of this downloading. It happened, if we reference 30, 40 years ago, yes, we don't have half the problem that we're facing today. So we need to get to the bottom of this. What is the real cost of this problem on our street? How do we work together as all level of government that solve the problem together as a collective body? At the end, whether we pay the federal government the taxes, and then they distribute the taxes to the province, and then leave a lot of problem on our street, or whether we're getting the money to do some of to solve the problem as a team. This, we need constant communications with our upper level government. So I'm really proud that some of the work we as a council have done in the past in terms of through our advocacy effort. But those efforts, shouldn't be viewed as just a frustration, and really the government, senior level government are looking for solutions. No different from we are looking for money and solutions. So more time needs to be spent through dialogue. UBCM is speed dating, 15 minutes a meeting. Will they solve the problem? Probably not. Where's the solution? The solution lies with the people of our community. We need to engage our community more often to understand where is the problem. How do we use our resources, whatever little we have, to solve the problem specifically in terms of the deal with area, a pocket of an area that we see more issues. And that will take a community to solve this problem. And also, it is with a different level of government. But this is a very good first step that we, at least from pure financial point of view, we collect some data, and we need to break this data down even further. Not just a simple one more sheet only when we go into the UBCM, but more use this data and in the most broad way to engage the community at large. Until such time, the problem will remain with us for a while. We're not going to be say this is an upper level government's problem, his problem there. No, it is our problem. When the problem is on our street, it is our problem. So let's together as one community and solve the problem. With that, we have a motion on the floor to direct the administration to produce a fact sheet, summarized fact sheet, so the citizen can understand the issue a little bit better.
Nope,
Is that what it
sorry.
is?
No, it's to create a one-pager document consolidating the information we received in the report for us
Okay.
to use as an advocacy tool with government.
Okay,
Thank you.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We need a motion to receive C1, C2.
I have another motion, Mayor Yu.
Oh, okay, you have
I
another motion.
expressed I'd like us to send a letter to the new Minister of Finance, Minister Josie Osborne, congratulating her on her appointment, but laying out our inability to achieve a meeting with the Ministry of Finance over the last term, and how we are optimistic that she'll be willing to receive us for a meeting while we're at UBCM. And that way we can sidestep slightly the process of getting meetings, but share with her the history of our attempts. And I think Minister Osborne has been relatively fair in trying to meet with us when she's been in other portfolios. And I'm hopeful that this will get across and get us the meeting so we can stress these important points. Thanks.
Thank you. No invoice. Just a letter of congratulations.
The request is to meet with the minister so we can make our case with facts on these issues.
Got it.
Thank you.
Second by Councilor Perillo. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Do I have, can I have a motion to receive the C1, C2? Moved by Councilor Scott, second by Councilor Klassen. All in favor, receive. Opposed? Carried. D1, Standing Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs. Councilor Garcelle, this is your.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Yu, and thank you to all the members of Intergovernmental Affairs. At our final meeting, we covered a lot of area. I'm just going to ask Councillor Scott has been attending these meetings. The recommendation stands in front of you, but Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Councillor Frizzell. We hosted at Center Table a delegation from the Prince George Violence Against Women and Interpartner Relationships. And we've come to know in the fullness of all of our advocacy work that men, women, and children are all victims of violence. This particular committee has picked up a program that is also present in other communities, and it's called the Purple Lights Nights. And it's part of the package before you tonight. And I commend the campaign, and also that we, I move that we write a letter of support.
Second by Councilor Frizzell. Councilor Ramsey.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just wonder if there's a way, perhaps through to staff, if it's possible to light up Mr. PG as purple from October 16th to 30th. It seems like signing a letter of support, encouraging residents to switch out their light bulbs for purple ones. Perhaps we should also be doing some piece of recognition ourselves. So I just thought maybe that might be something worth considering if there's other civic buildings that are more appropriate, perhaps, but that just had come to mind. So I don't know, Mr. McIntosh, if you want to comment on that.
Thanks, Your Worship, through to Councillor Ramsey. Staff are currently looking at the feasibility of this. We've had some impacts to the existing lighting through vandalism and theft, and we're trying to overcome that in time to address this request.
How unfortunate. That is disappointing. We all respect the big guy, so I really don't like hearing that that's happening. Thank you. I'll just leave it there then. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you. I see no more speaker on the list. I'm going to call the motion on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. D2.
Thank you, Mayor Yu.
Council Skaken.
Go ahead.
Doris, go ahead.
Great. Thanks. And actually, I'll defer to Councillor Skaken.
Councillor Skaken,
You had
yeah.
your career was around this, so if you
Yeah,
want to start.
your floor.
Thank you, Worship. And I just wanted to pass on a thanks to the Senior Staff Development Services for, I think they got involved with forming 2 committees right away when we found out about the Northwood closure. I know you've talked to folks, Your Worship, same as intergovernmental and our local MLAs have been, they're touring the mills, they're asking questions in that. But as far as the Bridging to Retirement program, I think that's one component to what's, to helping some of the folks at Northwood. But we can't forget there's employees there that are literally years and decades away from retirement. So this program won't necessarily help them, and I don't know if they'll have the abilities through some other sort of programs to transition to perhaps other employment. But this is, I think, one component. If we can get the government to reinstate that, and I went through this thing 3 years ago, and the province come up with most of the money, and CAMFOR came up with a bit. But I think unless the province comes to the table and says we have X number of dollars, you're not going to get CAMFOR to the table. So I think the province has really got to take the lead and say, we're committed to this, we're committed to the employees in this industry. Here's so much per employee, whether you're going to retire or not. But I think a lot more has to be done, Your Worship. And again, I appreciate the work that, Council has done and administration, our MLAs. But, this is a devastating issue for this community. And the forest industry is, it's really challenging right now. And these are real people that lost their jobs, and it's going to affect the family. And that's just 300 direct jobs. Chip trucks, welding, there's, I think, 4 jobs to every full-time CAMFOR job. So it's a big issue, and we're fortunate that we have a lot of mining and other activity going on. But this specific issue, the folks are hurting, and we got to do all we can to help them. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Skaken. Councilor Ramsey.
Thanks, Your Worship. Councillor Skaken raises a good point, and not just necessarily about the workers, but I think my concern around affordability for residents, with the depreciation of the asset likely coming on board. I just wonder if the committee had given consideration into sending a letter to Minister of Forests, Minister Parmar, to do some added advocacy there. I know our partners have been doing advocacy. There's resolutions around the Depreciation Act that are going to UBCM. So I just wonder if an added push prior to UBCM as well as at UBCM just might be beneficial. Any comments from the committee members on whether or not that was discussed?
Thank you, President Ramsey, Councillor Ramsey. The Depreciation Act, if we don't get some motion on that soon, then we could be in for a significant hit to the basic levy. The numbers that could be brought down on our heads are huge just in advance of a tax year where we wouldn't be able to plan for it, because with the act the way it is, they can depreciate the value of that property quickly, much faster than a resident could. So we've had conversations about it, and yes, I think the push is merited. Through to administration, would it be helpful to make a motion for that after this motion goes through to guide the advocacy moving into UBCM?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. That would be in order and would be welcomed by administration.
Specific to the Depreciation Act.
Thanks, Your Worship, and I would just appreciate the opportunity to do that. There have been examples across the province where mill closures have seen the depreciation of the asset. They're allowed to depreciate it up to 90%. There's been instances in the Kootenays where they've taken the roof off the mill to depreciate it to 100% of its value. So that means that 100% of that revenue that the municipality would be collecting is just gone. We saw this in Fraser Lake where it was depreciated to 90% of its value. with the mill closure last year. They're having town halls looking at a potential 24% tax levy. The small communities where 1% is much less than our 1.4 million. It's still going to be a huge impact to us, and we're going to have to strategize. So I would just really like to see us do some advocacy there and take advantage of UBCM and any potential opportunities to meet with the minister prior to UBCM as well. I think the more touch points we have on this, the more annoying we are. Perhaps the more successful we'll be in our advocacy.
Thank you. Councillor Sampson.
Yeah, thanks, Mary Yu. On that piece, I'm not sure if I have a whole heck of a lot of optimism in the Minister of Forests. His inability to meet with local mill owners and operators has been deafening. So I'm not as optimistic about what action will be taken there, but this could be added to the list of many critical things we need to talk to the Minister of Finance about, as BC Assessment does fall under the Minister of Finance. And so I'm 100% on board to meet with the Minister of Forests. I'm not as optimistic about what kind of response we'll get from that office, but we can try, and I think we got to push the issue. And I appreciate Councillor Ramsey you bringing that up. But I do think this should be among the list of things we want to talk to the Minister of Finance about, with the assessment of the property and the advocacy there. I think that's important. On the Bridging to Retirement program, appreciate Councillor Skaken raising this and identifying it as one stream. Without this as one of a many suite of programs to help retool these folks who have dedicated their careers to forestry, it leaves people hanging and in limbo. It doesn't give people the chance to comfortably choose Prince George and Northern BC to retire in. It means that folks who should be winding their career down are forced to look into career options and retooling that is going to outlive the time that they should be focused on that. And so I appreciate this being raised so we can raise this with government. I think it's a critical program, and I think it goes with the suite of programs that are going to be needed to not just help folks bridge into retirement, but those ones who are early in their career who are devastated by this revelation with Canfor, get into these new opportunities that are going to be coming into Prince George, and these new industries that are interested in our community when folks like Canfor choose to pull out. So appreciate this being raised and looking forward to supporting it.
Councillor Frizzell, you want to anchor your report?
Thank you, Mayor Yu. And just to close out, thanks to staff, because in the early hours after the closure was announced, a friend and fellow who's he and his wife have raised their children at the same time as me and my wife, and he gave me a call and said this was going down. Didn't look like Bridge to Retirement was going to be in place. The program had been canceled. Is there anything council can do? And when I put down the phone and started talking to staff, they were already on it, arranging for the community transition discussions. So kudos to administration. Please pass on thanks for getting that moving. And thanks to council for supporting putting some pressure on to get Bridge to Retirement back. It's not just going to help here, and I do want to say this is directly to Minister Jennifer Whiteside. This letter to Jennifer Whiteside as minister is to say this Bridging to Retirement program has to come back, not just for Prince George, but we also heard last week that it's happening in Quesnel as well. So it's timely, it's important, and I ask for support. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to add? After the motion? Okay. Yeah, I'm just say, we're at the critical point. Forestry, it is facing some difficulties. There might be some cascade effect taking place if we not be careful because of the taxation issue. Mackenzie Conifex is still down, and because a lot of sawmill, it depends on selling these chips to the pulp mills in order to make the ends meet. And now we have only Interfor. So we not only need to support the workers, we also need to actively as a council to seeking new opportunities for the market and increase the business activity, how to become the true base camp for the mining here in Prince George. It is a difficult time, but I do believe, we need to find solution together with the upper level government. So I really support this piece of advocacy that we're going to bring to Minister Whiteside. She knows Prince George well. Hope she'll look this favorably. With that, all in favor? Opposed? Carry. Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just add, I did have the opportunity to speak with Minister Parmar in April on the Depreciation Act, and he did have interest in making an adjustment. So I do think it has been teed up, and I think there is some likelihood that we may be successful in that advocacy, which is why I would like to see it follow through. I think, as there are examples of mills closing across the province, local government should be using those to leverage having that tax policy tax policy adjusted. So, that legislation, I do believe, lives with Minister Parmar, not with Minister of Finance, even though it is technically tax policy. But so I do think it's appropriate to ask for a meeting there. So I would just put forward a motion that Council supports advocacy to Minister of Forests and Minister of Finance on advocacy around Depreciation Act. So thanks.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Yeah, just for council information, a couple of weeks ago, the COFI president and myself and Mayor of Port McNeill, we got invited to federal government's caucus to give them a little talk regarding our opportunity as well as the problem we're facing in the forestry. They are very much aware of the situation right now as well. And the invitation for me personally to join Mr. Parmar to promote lumber file in any part of the world is still there. I do believe we are trying, but trying is one thing. I do believe also we really need to take a look at how the forestry was operating in the last 20, 30 years. We cannot use the same solution to solve the problem that is structural. We need to find a different way to use our forest a little more effectively, small operations, and various things we can do as a community. I remember back in the old days, we have 500 some small sawmill family operating, but now it's all consolidated with big ones. Is it maybe the time to go back to the old way doing things together with agriculture? We need to look at all options. But again, this is the conversation we need to have with the communities and to find solutions for the short term as well as the long term. Trees, they do grow back. Thank you. With that, we are going to D3, zoning bylaw amendment number REZ 2026-0119, housing action bylaw number 9635. Ms. Wasnick, would you like to introduce the report for us?
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, on July 20th, Council received a presentation from Administration and Small Housing BC regarding the Housing Action Implementation Strategy Initiative and endorsed the next steps required to advance a standardized housing design catalog for Prince George. The purpose of that work is to make it easier and more efficient to deliver housing that is already permitted within our community by developing pre-reviewed standardized housing plans that can be used repeatedly by builders and homeowners. Your Worship, one of the key implementation actions identified through that project was a review of zoning regulations that may unintentionally limit the use of standardized plans or create barriers to small-scale multi-unit housing. The bylaw before Council tonight is a result of that review. Before discussing the proposed amendments, Your Worship, I'd like to clarify the intent of this bylaw, as there has been some public misunderstanding regarding its scope. These amendments are not intended to expand residential uses into areas where housing is not already permitted, nor do they extend provincial small-scale multi-unit housing requirements to rural or agricultural properties that are not subject to that legislation. Rather, the amendments are intended to make it easier to implement standardized housing plans and housing forms that are already permitted under existing zoning and provincial legislation. The proposed amendments focus on 3 areas. First, increasing allowable building heights in applicable residential zones. Second, creating separate regulations for secondary dwellings and increasing flexibility by permitting up to 100 square meters of ground floor area. And third, reducing minimum parking requirements for certain housing types. Some of the proposed height and secondary dwelling provisions are also being applied to rural zones where housing is already permitted today, including AG, AF, and AR zone properties. This is being done to maintain consistency and improve the ability of property owners to utilize standardized housing plans. These amendments do not create new housing permissions in these zones and do not make them subject to small-scale multi-unit housing legislation. Overall, these are targeted amendments intended to reduce unnecessary regulatory barriers, support housing choice, shorten design and permitting timelines, and advance the implementation of Council's housing action strategy while remaining consistent with the official community plan. Your Worship, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Based on, in short, this particular amendment, based on what I'm just hearing, and also with all the correspondence I'm receiving, there's a contradiction message here. Basically, what I'm hearing is we're not turning all the AGAF land into housing land. That this is something we have to, it just basically is the type of housing with standardized housing as well as, apply to the whole city. But, regarding AG and AF, we're not trying to put in more houses on it without notice the public, right? That's correct, right?
Your Worship, that's correct. And the attached exhibits, which are redlined, actually are quite helpful to just show the changes being made and where those are applied and where they're not applied.
Thank you. Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I just want to thank all the residents who took time to write, and I mean, being an active citizen is doing exactly that, writing in when you see something that's of concern, and I think we have to really listen to that. And so I think the mayor has already confirmed that this does not put AG and AF zoning into underneath the small scale multiple unit housing. It doesn't put that, it doesn't do that, correct? Because that's the main concern that have been expressed by most. So just to confirm.
Yes, that's correct, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you. And one other thing that some of our residents asked for is, I know that I don't believe, I know that the public notice went out, what was it, 10 days ago? Is there an opportunity for us to consider putting out notice that affects green space a little bit earlier so people have more time, or?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll answer that one. The notice has to be mailed to the residents between 3 and 10 days before the application is decided. That's by legislation. That being said, if you wanted to do additional notice before that, you could. It's just that's a legally required notice.
Okay, and that wouldn't apply to this type of zoning amendment, Mary?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Klassen, from my point of view, and I've read the public's correspondence on this, and I said, I think it's a misunderstanding. With the AG and AF zones, they're not being, housing is not being introduced to those zones, they're already permitted. And when a lot is zoned AG, AF, or AR, it typically allows for one principal dwelling and then allows for these secondary dwellings should the zone support it, and then there's regulations tied to that. So with your question about requiring extra notification for the uses or changes to green space, that would be situational for sure. This, I don't feel, would be one of those situations, but should it be a larger change to the zone, I could see the planning department taking that into consideration and allowing that extra feedback or that time for feedback from the public so we can hear them.
Okay. Okay, I'll leave that for now. That's all my questions for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Claassen. Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks to Ms. Wozniak for the overview and to my colleagues who've kind of delved into this a little bit. I was slightly confused when I was getting all of the letters of correspondence, and I think it was because the notice came out prior to the report to really see. So I had gone and looked at the existing zoning bylaw, which is what's in front of you today, and you can see this is the rural zone, AG Greenbelt zoning. You can see the principal uses, the secondary uses, and if you just scroll down a bit, Ms. Kellett, onto the next page, the red line is what's changing, and it's very minimal. So you can see, I think if you just scroll up a tiny bit, for instance, the maximum height in AG is currently 10 meters, and it's suggested going to 11 meters. And this, if there's a building that is, if there's a lot that's zoned AG Greenbelt and it can meet the parameters and have a unit on it that meets the principal or secondary purposes, then that house would then be able to go up to 11 stories. And I think why this is important, 11 meters, not 11 stories, oops. I think why it's important is that, the last meeting we saw these pre-approved design plans, and this is going to make it so that any zone across all of our zones can utilize those pre-approved plans, which are meant to help, help accelerate development, help shorten the permit times. It's going to make it easier for homeowners who are looking to use those plans, not having to have to go and get engineered documents and such. So to me, this is really like cleanup and ensuring that those plans can be used across all of the different zones that currently allow for housing, not increasing the housing that can be developed on those lots. And I think when you look at AG Greenbelt, the assumption is that it's only Greenbelt, but the reality is that AG Greenbelt can accommodate housing, AF can accommodate housing. So I think it was really just a misunderstanding of the notice coming out prior to the redlined bylaw. The other piece I wanted to touch on was there's some adjustments to parking in here, and I believe that there was the Statutes Amendment Act, Bill 25, that came out, Ms. Wozniak. I think it's the Housing Statutes Amendment Act around municipalities requiring off-street parking for small-scale multi-unit housing, and I think there's some restrictions now in place. So I had thought, I don't think it was explicitly stated in the report, but going to the zero for requirement for off-street parking, I believe is that change from the Housing Statutes Amendment Act. And in the legislation, I think it says something, I'm looking at it right now, the council of a municipality must not require an owner or occupier of any land or any building or other structure on the land to provide off-street parking or loading spaces for residential use of a housing unit required to be permitted under section 41.33 or 4. So, there's been some legislative changes from the province around small-scale multi-unit housing where they were seeing requirements from municipalities, creating a requirement for excessive numbers of parking stalls so that those units could then not be converted to small-scale multi-unit housing. There's a lot of local governments that are opposed to small-scale multi-unit housing, and that was one of the strategies some were trying to find around seeing it built in their communities. We have been one of the communities that's supported small-scale multi-unit housing. We've seen Prince George achieving its housing targets. We have the urban containment boundary to try and limit sprawl. So I think we're quite advanced in some of the work we're doing around development services. So I do think really this is just cleanup on our zoning bylaw to implement some of the changes we've made across the spectrum of zoning we offer, where housing is currently allowed, and also accommodating for some of the changes in the legislation from the parking update that they put through that Housing Statutes Amendment Act, Bill 25. So I'm in support of this, and I appreciate all the letters of correspondence. If you know, our green space or our agricultural forestry lands were at risk, absolutely, they're not. They're still intact, and I think our residents can rest easy on that fact. So thanks.
Councillor Skaken.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be brief. People in our community, they fiercely defend our green space, and that's rightfully so. I mean, we went through the OCP, we know. I think it's easy to look back when the flood of emails started, you know, different councillors were trying to answer them, get information from administration, and this really snowballed, and I can't blame the residents for thinking, geez, you know, what's going to happen to our green space? And I think going forward, I think we just need to keep in mind, and administration as well, that when something like this comes up, even though it might seem innocuous, I think people look at this and think, you know, is there an opportunity to lose green space or whatever? And I just think it gets a little messy, and it's, you know, as far as communication, maybe there's a better way for us to, like it was mentioned, the report came out before other stuff, so I think going forward, we could probably do it differently. And yeah, these folks got fired up. I don't blame them. But, you know, it's clarified tonight, and let's learn from it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sampson.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Yu. It's all been said, but I do want to acknowledge how it's really impressive how fast folks activate, and there's no group in Prince George that activates quicker than the folks who want to defend our green spaces, as has been said. And I appreciate Annie, Jana, Britt, David, Miriam, Heather, Candy, Melinda, Crystal, Erica, Kimberly, Becky, Elizabeth, Marlene, Suzanne, Cheryl, and Richard. And Cheryl, I know, is quiet but fierce when it comes to defending the green spaces. But these folks, they activated behind it because what they saw was concerning, and appreciate that we can clarify that. And it's not always going to be what, it's hard to identify what people will glean from something, whether it's correct or incorrect, but the fact that they activated so quick and were able to get the word out is impressive. And it's always a good reminder that even though in this case, I'm going to support this, in this case, it's maybe not what it first seemed to be as a risk to our green spaces. It is a good reminder of the importance that residents in Prince George place on our green spaces, and this will carry forward for future decisions that may have implications on green spaces, because it's a good reminder of how people get activated and how much they care about them. So I do appreciate the folks who reached out. Beyond the ones on the agenda, there was individual emails to individual councillors and whatnot as well, and so just appreciate those who reached out, but also grateful for the work Ms. Wozniak and her team did to bring clarity to that on the agenda. So thanks very much.
Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Mayor Yu, for letting me in a second time. Through to staff, I'm just wondering, is it possible to include the report next time on a public notice when the public notice goes out, so that we don't have that misunderstanding? Or, and do you need a motion to do that, or how?
Yes, sir.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Clausen, within the notice, and Mr. Anderson, correct me if I'm wrong, it does indicate that the materials are available at the city to review. So without creating these large notification packages that go beyond what we're required to notify with the information that's included within it, I would just recommend that the public contact us with any questions, or if they want to set up a time to come review, or pop by the second floor front desk, and we can certainly provide those materials. And just on that, if there are questions or need for clarification following a notification, we are available for questions. So please, to the public, feel free to contact the second floor. We're happy to clarify any questions you might have regarding proposed bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just, again, I want to thank all the residents that spent the time to write to us. After we received all the correspondence, our staff communication team did answer all their emails and make sure that, you know, the message is clear. The intention of this is a very slight change of the building sizes and heights, Oh, yeah, to some degree, it does affect the green space because the shadow might be a little bit bigger now, 1 meter taller, the building. Having said that, Prince George, it is unique. We are rural and we are urban. We are the city of size of 2 Victoria, 2 Nanaimo, and Saanich put together. And within this 319 square kilometer, it is one of the most beautiful city. To love Prince George, all you have to leave for a few weeks and come back to realize how beautiful this place is. And it is our collective duty to protect the green space as well as we need to work on them. We need to thinning out certain area to make sure the wildfire will not come here one day to destroy all of it. So with that, we have motion. Do you need a motion, right?
Thank you, Your Worship. A motion for the first 3 readings would be in order.
Moved by Council Parillo, second by Council Claassen. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. We have a public hearing starting. Should we take 5 minutes? No, okay. After? Okay. Thank you. I declare the public hearing at the agenda H1 to order. Ms. Anderson, would you like to provide an overview of the hearing?
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have a public hearing tonight being the removal of a covenant at 824 LaSalle Avenue. Your Worship, before I go into details of the application, I'm going to outline how the public hearing works for anyone wishing to speak. Those wishing to speak to the application will be requested to add their name to the speakers list available by Ms. Kellett at the side there. Ms. Kellett will be calling out names for each speaker to come to the center table to speak. If you are on the phone, please queue by pressing *9 or raising your hand. We will go through the queue and we will announce either the last 3 digits of your phone number or your name. Once we do, we will unmute you and you will need to unmute yourself by either pressing *6 or the unmute button if you're coming through Zoom. Individuals wishing to speak to these applications will come to the center table one at a time, state their name and address for the record, and address council. Comments made at the public hearing are limited to the covenant the application is considering. For clarity, comments regarding the current or proposed uses the covenant allows or would allow, development regulations, consistency with city policies are all appropriate comments, while comments about the applicant or developer, comments about potential users of the property, or comments on the matters outside the jurisdiction of the city are not appropriate. Those wishing to speak shall limit their comments initially to 10 minutes, and subsequent comments from the same individual limited 5 minutes after all previous speakers that wish to speak to the applications have been given an opportunity to do so. When an individual comes to the center table, they are direct comments and questions to the mayor, not to the applicant. So just as a reminder to the gallery, there is no applause, cheering, booing, or any other gallery interaction allowed. I request that you silence your phones to avoid any unnecessary interruptions, as well as limit any whispering or conversations, as they are quite audible and distracting. Council is reminded that the function of public hearing is not for council to debate members of the public, but to receive comments to inform debate on the readings of the bylaw related. So the application is Section 219 Covenant Application number RC 000036, bylaw 9580-2025, location 824 LaSalle Avenue. Documents for council's consideration are a staff report titled Section 219 Covenant Application, bylaw 9580-2025. That was considered at the July 20th meeting. There's a location existing zoning map and a Section 219 restricted covenant attached there. There's also a letter dated July 16th, 2026 from the applicant. There have been 6 additional items of correspondence received in regard to the public notice issued for this application that are part of your handout package tonight. The Director of Planning and Development is available to provide an overview of the application.
Thank you. Ms. Watson, would you like to give us an overview of the application? So,
thank you, Your Worship. As Mr. Anderson stated, on July 20th, 2026, Council approved first and second reading of bylaw number 9580-2025, which proposes to discharge a Section 219 covenant from the legal title of 824 LaSalle Avenue to allow the development regulations of the RM4 multiple residential zone to prevail. The covenant was placed on title through a rezoning bylaw in 2012 when the subject property was zoned from RS2 single residential to RM4 multiple residential to ensure compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood, specifically related to building massing, height, and density. Currently, the covenant restricts the buildings on the property to a height of 10 meters and 2.5 stories, a density of 65 units per hectare, and the form and character shown on the drawings attached to the covenant. With the discharge of the covenant, the development regulations of the RM4 zone would prevail and would allow for a structure with a height of 12 meters or 3 stories and 10 dwellings on the property compared to the 7 units currently permitted under the covenant. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Skegan.
Just to confirm again, so the current zoning is RM4 and there's 7 units allowed, and if we lift the covenant, it could go to 10?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see no more questions. Council, is there a question for the staff? No? Okay. Ms. Anderson, is there anyone in the gallery which to speak to the application?
Your Worship, so the applicant is available on Zoom, and if I could ask Mr. Gable to unmute himself in case council has any questions or he would like to make a statement.
Okay. Mr. Gable, would you like to make a statement or you just want to wait? Hearing no answer, I think he's just going to answer questions. If there's any, go ahead.
Mr. Gable, can you hear us? If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Kurt, can you hear me?
Maybe we can go through the audience.
Yeah, I'll go through the audience first. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this application? Thank you, Marvin.
Do you need my name? Yeah, Margaret Jones Bricker. I did submit, thank you, Mayor Yu and Council.
So, Your Worship, just could we get the address
Yes,
as well?
2617 Hazelton Street. Enough? Okay. I did submit some written comments yesterday. I just wanted to reinforce my concern. Although the RM4 does permit the 10 dwellings, I'm not confident that the infrastructure in this particular area is modern enough to support that increase in the density. And I'm also very concerned about the parking. It's 0.11 hectare, equivalent to about a quarter acre, 12,000 and some square feet. With 10 dwellings, I'm not exactly sure, depending on whether they're 1, 2, or 3 bedroom, how many parking spaces would be required, but it's a very old neighborhood with no storm sewer, no curb, no sidewalk, obviously, and poses significant challenges for a building of this scale. Those were my concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question for the staff. We have no water sewer for the area? Is that correct?
Your Worship, I believe it's storm because it's open ditch, so there'd be water and sewer.
There's water and
No
sewer.
storm.
Just, okay.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, Margaret, I just want to make sure
No
the
storm
correct
drain.
information goes out. Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Frizzell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Through to Ms. Wozniak, in the letter that Ms. Jones Bricker submitted as well, she talked about parking spaces. Can you comment?
Oh, Your Worship, through to Councillor Frizzell. I believe in the staff report that was considered by Council on July 20th, administration did note there may be challenges with accommodating 10 units on this parcel, including the, I guess, just both parking in consideration with the future development, not knowing what that building looks like at this stage. We were highlighted parking and those types of development regulations being a concern of perhaps all being met without needing variances on that site.
Thank you.
Your Worship, if we could go to Mr. Gable again, and if council doesn't have any more questions, if we could try Mr. Gable again. Mr. Gable, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Go ahead, Kurt.
For my opening, I feel that the written submission that I sent in is adequate, and I don't really need to add to that. I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question for you, Kurt. Were you the developer also for Queensway and 17th Avenue?
Your Worship,
office building?
when we're considering the application, it has to be
okay.
to this application.
All right, only. So, sorry. I just want to, kind of get a sense of what type of style of housing may be going up there, because I know the proponent, some of the development he has put forward in the city. I just wondering if they're similar. That's all. That might affect the parking. That's the reason I'm asking the question.
Right, and I believe the style was part of the covenant, Ms. Wozniak?
That's correct, Your Worship, and it's, with the covenant being discharged, it would affect the density, the height, and the form and character being removed.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Is no, Councilor Ramsey?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering through to Ms. Wozniak. I couldn't find it in the report, but is there going to be servicing brief that's required in order to discharge the covenant, or was there one previously on title or on file registered when the original zoning occurred? I'm just not sure if that gets checked or how that gets checked. So,
Your Worship, through to Councilor Ramsey, I'm not sure if a servicing brief was previously submitted. If not, even with a new development, we have the ability through development approvals to ask for that information and any other technical report that might be needed as part of that proposal.
okay. And if it came back that the servicing currently couldn't support the additional of the 3 units, what steps would occur?
Your Worship, through to Councilor Ramsey, typically if a servicing brief shows a deficiency in some sort of infrastructure that's required for the build, oftentimes the recommendation would be to reduce the density to what the capacity of the system could support, or upgrade the infrastructure.
And if the infrastructure was required to be upgraded because of the density, would the developer bear the cost of that or the city?
Your Worship, that's the cost of the developer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fussell.
Thank you, Mayor. You, through to Ms. Wozniak, in Mr. Kirk's letter from July 16th, he notes that he amalgamated the residentially zoned lots initially to the RM4, but had he zoned it RS4 like the areas around, then that lot could accommodate up to 12 units. Is that your understanding?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Frizzell, that's correct. Again, the proposed lots as they would have been standalone predate the Bill 44. So I think that's what's being pointed out in this letter from the applicant, is just indicating that should the lots have been left alone as individual parcels, they could have accommodated the density permitted under the Bill 44 SMU regulations. Again, since they've been amalgamated and it was looked at the time in 2012, the density and the massing of the zone, that's of RM4 zone, was always somewhat of a concern. Therefore, the covenant was discussed and ultimately registered on title.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Mr. Gable.
Sorry, Your Worship, before we go to Mr. Gable, because he's spoken, we do have a speaker on the line with their hand raised that we should go to first.
Yeah, with the caller on Zoom with the phone number ending in 204, please unmute yourself. You can dial *6 to unmute.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and Council, my name is Lucia Bonin. I live at 2565 Hazelton Street, directly adjacent to the subject property at 824 LaSalle Avenue. I'm speaking tonight to express my strong opposition to bylaw number 9580. I have lived in my home now for 6 years, over more than half a decade. I have known this to be an incredibly quiet, quaint, safe neighborhood. It's the exact environment I chose to raise my young child in. Because of the layout of our street, our front yards cannot be fully fenced as a result. our day-to-day safety and peace of mind rely entirely on the low-density, predictable nature of our immediate surroundings. Removing this restrictive covenant entirely to allow for an RM4 multi-residential development right next door completely changes that. By stripping away the restrictions on height, density, and form, you're opening the door to a drastic influx of people and traffic directly bordering an unfenced yard where a young child plays. This rapid densification introduces serious concerns regarding noise, traffic safety, loss of secure community character we have counted on for the last 6 years, as well as the lack of parking being available. The original covenant was created through a public process to protect this neighborhood. Removing it leaves immediate neighbors carrying all the risk. I respectfully urge council to vote against this discharge and maintain the existing protections for 824 LaSalle Avenue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else on the line?
Ms. Kellett, is there anybody else on the line?
There's nobody else with their hand raised.
Excellent. And Ms. Kellett, is there anybody on the speakers list?
No, there's not.
Your Worship, if you wanted to go back to Mr. Gable, or sorry,
you.
Your Worship, if you'd like to go to the gallery first.
Mr. Gable, would you like to respond to some of the questions?
Yes, I just wanted to respond to the question regarding servicing briefs. In 2011, when this was, or 2012, when this was first rezoned, I had an engineered servicing brief done that indicated there was adequate water and sewer for the project that was proposed. And again, just this spring, at the request of city staff, I hired another engineering firm to do another servicing brief at a significant cost of several $1,000s, and that servicing brief should be on my file at City Hall. It says that there's more than enough water and sewer to service a 10-unit building on that site.
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody, this change from RS4 to RM4 was done back in 2012. The decision here is we are increase the unit from 7 to 10, and perhaps risking a little bit change of character of the original building concept. Am I correct? And then same times, Mr. Gable must meet all the RM4 zoning requirements, including parking.
So Your Worship, in 2012, when this was first rezoned, it predated even the RS4 rezoning that we took on citywide.
Yeah.
So it would have been RS2 to RM4 with a condition of consolidating the parcel into what you see today. And then because at the time in 2012, same as what we're saying today, the concerns of density and just the development of the site seems to be quite impactful with just the RM4 zone being the zone to govern that development. So a covenant was registered that reduced the things you see, the height, the density, and then restricting the form and character. So that being discharged would allow RM4 to prevail, and the development regulations of that zone have to be met. If they can't be met, it'd be a variance application to council.
Thank you. And we're not here to overturn the RM4 in any which way.
Your Worship, tonight council's considering the third reading for the discharge of the covenant.
Thank you. Remove the restrict component. Councilor Sampson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor Yu. A number of the submissions have spoken about parking and traffic impacts, and I'm just looking for absolute clarity on, under the RM4 zoning, if the covenant is discharged and a developer pursues a 10-unit complex, what are the parking requirements that they'd be required to meet?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Sampson. So should the covenant be discharged, a development permit would be required as part of the development approvals process. And through that's what parking is looked at. Parking would be based on, right now it's a ratio of the number of bedrooms per unit that would inform the number of parking stalls. So without going through the list, I don't have it in front of me, but it'd be a stall or half a stall per so many bedrooms. So it's a ratio. We'd apply that calculation to figure out how many stalls would be required based on the number of units and the bedrooms within those units, and that would inform the required number of parking stalls.
Thanks for that. I appreciate the process that would have to be gone through. I guess where I'm challenged is the removal of the covenant is the public opportunity for folks to have their concerns heard and also addressed. But the next phase, if this covenant was removed, doesn't give the public a chance to have insight into what that process is, because it would be just administratively administered. Is that fair to say?
Your worship, through to Councillor Sampson, that's correct, unless, again, a variance is triggered, that there would be a public notification for that.
And based on the lot size and the proposed units, is it likely, from your experience, that this would trigger a variance? I guess even at the minimum, 10 units, one-bedroom units, my assumption is they're not going to be able to achieve the parking standards that would be expected and accepted under the RM4 zoning.
Your worship, through to Councillor Sampson, that's the opinion of administration, which was stated in our staff report as well. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Maybe I have to follow up with Councillor Sampson's question. They allow to do underground parking, am I correct? Under that zoning?
Your worship, that's correct. They could explore under building parking or underground if that was feasible for the property. There would, again, without knowing a development proposal, right now we're just talking about a discharge of a covenant and allowing the zone to prevail, so.
Thank you. So we're strictly dealing with land use right now. And I would just assure everybody that we're not here to overturn RM4, basically remove the covenants to increase the unit number from 7 to 10, and all the other zoning requirement governing RM4 still have to be met. Correct.
That's correct, Your Worship.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to call 3 times for any further speaker regarding this application. For the first time, is there anyone who wishes to speak to this application? For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak to these applications? And for the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak to these applications? I need a motion to close.
Move closure.
Second by Councilor Frizzell, moved by Councilor Skaken to close the public hearing. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a motion in front of us. Recommend that there be the council give the third reading of the City of Prince George Restrictive Covenant Discharge Bylaw number 9580, 2025. All in favor?
Sorry, Your Worship. Just to administration, we have the recommendation here, so you're saying to move for the first 3 readings and not have that recommendation, is that?
To give the third reading, the city of Prince George discharge, but the restrictive covenants, right? That's how I interpret it. Is that correct?
Your Worship, so first 2 readings were given previously.
Yeah.
We did the public hearing, so if council still wants to move forward with the bylaw, you can give third reading. If they don't wish to move forward with the bylaw, they'll deny the third reading.
Yeah. Just checking. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. You have a mover, second? Second by Councilor Bennett. All in favor of the recommendation in front of us? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Sorry,
Sorry, yeah.
Your Worship, can I just get the opposed again?
Yep, thank you.
Those 2. Your Worship, just because there were people on the phone, it might be helpful to read out the result of that.
Thank you. We have a 5 minutes break.
Your Mayor,
Worship, because there's people on the phone and they can't see how council voted, perhaps if you could read out the result that it was carried 7-2.
Okay. Well, woman, all in favor of remove
Well, no, you just have to verbally say, yeah, that's all for the people.
7-2. Thank you.
And your worship, just for those listening in, it was Councillor Skaken and Councillor Sampson opposed.
Thank you.
Your worship, are we going to take a break or not?
We'll take a 5. Thank you. 5 minutes. This is a land use.
That's a lot of lots on one property. Or a lot of,
Yeah, but they have to put
Thank you, Your Worship. So we are on item D4.
D4. Road closure application number RCL 00038. Ms. Wasnick.
Your Worship, bylaw number 9628, 2026 proposes to permanently close a 0.29 hectare portion of road dedication along Griffiths Avenue. This area would be consolidated with the parcel located west of the road closure area. The purpose of the road closure is to support a land disposition and facilitate a future high-density mixed-use residential development on the property located at 2000 Central Street. Council may recall approving first 3 readings of zoning amendment bylaw number 9548, 2025 on June 8th, 2026, which proposes to rezone the property at 2000 Central Street from RM3 multiple residential to Z22 mixed-use corridor. In exchange for closing the portion of road included under bylaw number 9628, the applicant would dedicate approximately 0.216 hectares of 2000 Central Street as road to support the future intersection and road improvements along Highway 97, 22nd Avenue, Central Street East, and Griffiths Avenue. No financial compensation is required for this application, as the portion of the subject property to be dedicated as road has a higher fair market value than the road area proposed for closure under bylaw number 9628, 2026. Administration supports this bylaw as it's aligned with Council's priorities and will facilitate a development consistent with the OCP and housing needs for our community. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Councilor Bennett.
I'll move the recommendation and get it on the floor first.
Second by Councilor Claassen.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I don't necessarily think I have any questions. Just I know we have a couple pieces of correspondence regarding this. I also know there's been, I think, since first 3 readings of this came, of the initial bylaw came to the table, there's been lots of public interest in this. And I know the proponents are here in the gallery as well. And I've heard from multiple residents the efforts that the proponents have made to reach out to the neighborhood. I know that, of course, everyone always wants more communication. But I want to highlight, I know it was referenced in some of the correspondence today, but I've had the opportunity to speak to some of the neighbors who have really appreciated the proponents reaching out on this development and look forward to seeing this continue to move forward over the years. So thank you to staff for the work on this and thank you to the proponents.
Thank you. Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but this is the worst intersection in Prince George. And so I think taking steps forward to work to improve it are just going to be for the betterment of our residents. So I'm going to support first 3 readings for the road closure application. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a move and I have a seconder. All in favor of the recommendation of D4? Opposed? Eight to 1. Thank you. Proposed 2027 council meeting schedule. DA, Ms. Anderson, would you like to introduce the
Thank you, Your Worship. I think we're on D5.
Oh, we're still on D5. Oh, sorry. I flipped the page. My apology.
You're in a hurry.
I'm not in a hurry, but I flipped the wrong page. D5, Development Variance Permit Application VP 2026-12. Ms. Wasnick, would you like to introduce the report?
Your Worship, this variance request relates to a recently rezoned property at 2670 Vanier Drive that will be used as a daycare. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback for parking from 4.5 meters to 1.5 meters to accommodate the required parking on site. Administration considers the variance to be minor and notes that all other zoning requirements are met and supports its application. I'm available for any questions you have.
Thank you. Councilor Scapen.
Just to administration, I think that's right across from Westwood School. So
That's correct, Your Worship. Yep.
Does the proponent or staff see any issues with, I guess, the kids getting in and out of there if they do, in fact, go in and out of the daycare during drop-off or pickup for Westwood?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Skaken, that might be a point of conflict if the on-street parking is made use of.
Yeah.
So with these 4 stalls stalls being on the property is hopefully going to prevent that from being a point of contention.
Great, thanks.
I'll move the recommendation.
Second by Councillor Sampson. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just a question through administration, and I think this was actually asked, this may have been asked beforehand as well, just that that there shouldn't be any kind of additional impact to snow removal or anything if we're adding in the additional stalls by curbside there?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Bennett, it's my understanding there's a 5.5 meter city boulevard and then the 1.5 meter setback on the property. So essentially 7 meters of space for snow storage.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Ms. Wozniak. So the essential change to the property is strictly the parking at the front? Is that correct?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Scott, that's correct.
Thank you.
All in favor of the recommendation? Opposed? Carried. D6, Copa Arena naming rights renewal agreement. Mr. Beasley, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Your Worship. The naming rights agreement for Copar Memorial Arena expired on June 30th of this year. Copar Administration Limited expressed interest in renewing this agreement. Copar Administration is also a major sponsor of the building's tenant, the Prince George Spruce Kings, and the continuation of this agreement aligns with what the Spruce Kings are also hoping for. Administration negotiated a 6.67% increase for the proposed term, which would expire May 31st, 2030. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Sampson, second by Councillor Perillo. Councillor Frizzell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Just wanted to commend Mr. Beasley and staff for negotiating the agreement and getting the 6.67% increase on the previous agreement, and I will be supporting this. And welcome back to having Copar Administration as our naming rights sponsor. This is good news.
Councillor Perillo, want to say something?
Yeah, not really much more to add. Just thanks to Tom and Copar, and it, I guess over the I mean, it says it in the report that over the 4 years it'll be an additional $64,000. Just a wonder in terms of negotiation, was it first right of refusal? Was there any other parties interested, or just, you know, some details regarding that, Mr. Beasley?
Yes, Your Worship, through to Councillor Perillo, it was the only proponent that came forward that was interested in the deal originally, and with this latest round, we didn't have anybody else that was interested that came forward.
Okay. And maybe the one further I know it also said in the report that at the end of this, because I think it is May 31st, 2030, coincides when the lease is up for Copar. Is there a plan to, well, I guess separate matter, a plan to begin negotiations with the tenant a year before? I mean, we could be in an entirely different reality in 4 years from now, but I know it's kind of premature, but.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Perillo, typically what we do with sort of what I would call permanent tenants, such as the Spruce Kings, is we wait towards closer to the end of the term, find out what their intentions are. We're assuming that they'll be here for many, many decades to come, but we kind of wait and see what the lay of the land is and then tackle it. We look usually about 1 year before the end of the term to start having those discussions.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, let's hope by then we have a brand new arena. Councillor Skegan.
Just briefly to administration with regards to naming rights, is this the average length of a naming rights contract? Is the Canfor pool similar? I can't recall.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Skegan, yes, this is very typical. Our naming rights agreements, I think the longest one I've seen, I believe the CN Center was originally 10 or even 15 years. although that was probably 5 years plus 5 years plus 5 years with renewals. So this is fairly standard, and I apologize, I actually don't off the top of my head know what Canfor Leisure Pool is. I'm going to suspect that's a 5 plus 5 too, but I'm
No worries.
really just guessing.
Just trying to figure that out. Thanks, appreciate it.
Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had the same question as Councillor Pilillo around proponents and going to tender, but instead I'll ask, I've seen other institutions and cities use other opportunities within a facility to offer naming rights as well, like a feature wall or some additional pieces. I'm just wondering, as we look at, only having one proponent apply for naming rights, I just wonder if it's something we would maybe break up inside into some smaller pieces to make some more affordable options for maybe local businesses to support through naming rights.
Yes, so through to Councillor Ramsey. What we've done in the past is done cost-benefit analysis to see a lot of times companies sort of want all or nothing. But having said that, we absolutely do look at smaller things. I remember the CN Centre originally had a Canfor room and I think one other room that was named differently. I can tell you right now we're looking at the Aquatic Centre naming rights, and we are looking very much at the possibility of one name for the entire facility or potentially breaking it up into smaller pieces as you're talking about. So we're really looking at what would be the best bang for the buck for the City of Prince George.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beasley. And I think too, having one name on the outside, but proponents also on the inside, as long as they're maybe not in competition in the same sector, also makes sense to just open it up a little bit more. So I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. D7, Capital Addition, Community Fiber Optic Network Connection. Mr. Delio.
Thank you, Your Worship. The city operates a network of underground fiber optic cables that the city and other public organizations can use that basically allows their information to travel securely and quickly between satellite buildings that they may operate. Northern Health has informed us that when they break ground on the Care Tower before the end of the year that their current connection will be severed. So they've asked us for a second line. We propose to run that from Winnipeg Street from 13th Avenue to 5th Avenue. And this will be an additional connection that Northern Health will have. It'll provide them, they're still going to reconnect the one that will be severed at their own cost, but they would like a second connection anyway for the redundancy and to handle them in the meantime while they're doing construction. Estimated budget is $400,000. We actually rent these fiber connections out to these other organizations, and with the rental revenue, we use that to expand the system and pay for itself. So the reserve fund that is dedicated to that has the funds to do the project, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I see there's a note from Mr. Dalio that any, any future connections made on the new line would have financial benefits beyond cost recovery. But there's also kind of a note around it being for, I can't remember where it was, for public bodies, not, I'm assuming that means that we can't just onload anyone. But I'm just wondering for maybe clarity there. And then my other question is whether or not we would reach out to the school district about onboarding perhaps Duchess. That's quite a big, I'm trying to think what else is along there, or maybe the mall, like what other businesses along there might be interested in. And just wonder if it's worth sending a letter stating that we're increasing the redundancy and there's an opportunity to onboard new clients. So
I'm trying to recall a conversation with my IT manager. I believe Duchess Park in particular came up, so I think that's already part of the pitch. But
yeah, I would just like to see us maybe, I think sometimes we have these conversations about not having to dig more than once. And so if we're laying the line, maybe doing that preemptive work, reaching out, seeing if there's any other clients we can onboard, so we're only digging once. And when we're installing the line, doing those connections might be beneficial, but yeah. No. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Fussell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. So the fund that'll be depleted to do the installation will get replenished by the operational money and revenues it brought in.
Correct. The rental revenues, as it's received, goes into the reserve, and the reserve is funded, funds all of the drilling and installing of new fiber going forward.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Polillo.
Yeah, just thinking about other opportunities there, along with Duchess, there's the Prince George Youth Soccer, which actually rents from the school district property there. There's also the daycare, the Duchess Learning Center as well. There's obviously urgency for this work, right? Because because at the end of the year, right, they're planning to move ahead. So this is why this has come to us, right? I mean, are we going to have enough time to do this work?
We will have enough time. It does need to be approved pretty much today, though. That's why it's not on your 2027 capital plan coming up. This is an urgent request. I should also say my IT manager has said that School District 57 has already been approached. They're not interested, but we are still trying to sell it to them. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's. I think. Well, yeah. I think we do have a meeting with them for right around the first day of school, so we can bring that up. Yeah, I think that's all my questions.
All in favor?
Your Worship, I don't believe I have a mover.
No, I'll move it. I saw it. Moved by Councilor Fussell, second by Councilor Ramsey. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. D8, 2027 meeting schedule.
Move recommendation.
Second by Councilor Fussell. Any objection?
In the queue.
Yeah. Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to thank staff for the inclusion of the additional meeting in June. I just feel like that's a necessary piece. I wonder if it's potentially appropriate to move the June meeting from June 23rd to June 28th. I would like to propose that amendment.
Second.
We would have, the city would have regional district on the 24th, so it just makes it difficult for to have two council meetings and a regional district meeting in the same week, so.
Your Worship, if I could respond?
Yes, please.
So my biggest concern there, why we didn't choose that date, is we end up with 3 meetings in 3 weeks. It's incredibly difficult for my staff in order to publish those agendas. We can do it, but that was the rationale for not doing that.
Okay, thank you. I'm concerned about, there's going to be a regional district meeting on the 24th as well. So even if it moved to the 30th, I just feel like the 23rd or the 28th or the 30th is just more, I think, going to be easier for whoever's on the regional district board. So I would just like to propose the 2nd of September. No, there's legislative deadlines, that's why it's in June.
Yeah.
Or sorry.
June 2nd.
Okay, but
I'm not sure what the timelines are for, I just had thought that with the regional district meeting on the 24th, that's just gonna make it really challenging for those 4 council members that are on the regional district board, so. Through to Mr. Anderson, I'm just wondering if you could propose perhaps a different date.
Oh, can I raise a point of clarity before that? The regional district is the 3rd Thursday of every month, which would be the 17th.
Is it the 17th? I thought
Yep.
it was.
3rd Thursday.
Does it get bumped for FCM? No. Okay, it's going to be on the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't look at the calendar and I apparently can't count, so, okay.
Councilor Polillo.
I'm just wondering about the September meeting. I noticed in May, we have that Wednesday meeting because of the May long weekend, but it's also after NCLGA. We have UBCM in September, and would it be possible to move that September 27th to the 29th? Because that's going to be a busy week. Is that something that we could do?
Your Worship, if I may, I have no problems with that one. That's fine by me.
Just give us a couple more days because that's a busy week. So I'll make that.
give me one second. I'm going to ask a quick question. The new council come in, they can change that date, can they not?
Absolutely. Resolution, you can change anything by resolution.
We should leave for the next council.
Well, I disagree. I think this council has every right to make that decision, and I'll propose it, and if they want to turn it down, they turn it down. To me, it makes sense. Gives us a couple more days to prepare. Whether it's us around the table or someone else, I think they benefit from it as well, the future council, so.
Which day you propose, Mr.?
I'm proposing, Your Worship, that we have the meeting a couple days later, September 29th, instead of September 27th.
So we get to stay down to Vancouver extra day.
No, it gives us, well, perhaps that might be your choice, but it gives us a couple more days to prepare.
Okay, second by Council Fazil. All in favor of the amended schedule? Sure. Oppose? Carried. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I agree. Extra day down Vancouver, good. Okay.
And then, Your Worship, just a vote on the actual calendar. I took that as an amendment, so just a vote to adopt the calendar.
Oh, that was the amendment. Okay, now approve the main schedule. Main
Just a
motion,
vote, just a-
carried by Council, moved by Council Skaken, second by Council Klassen. All in favor? Oppose? Yeah, okay. All good. E, that's for next meeting. We have a final F1.
Point of order, Your Worship. Can you please call for opposition on the previous question?
I think you and Councilor Skaken. Yeah, but you got to raise your hand already.
So, Your
Oppose.
Worship, sorry, maybe I can provide some clarity. There was a main motion and then an amendment motion.
Amendment was carried, opposed by Councilor
Skaken and Ramsey.
Ramsey and Councilor Skaken.
And then now we have to just do the vote on the main motion.
Main motion is unanimous, right? Oh, we haven't voted yet.
Main motion as amended.
Main motion amended, carried by, moved by Councilor Fazil, second by Councilor Scott. All in favor? Oppose? Okay. Wow. Councilor Palillo, your day is really just stirred up the pot here. Okay, I see. That's for political reason. Okay, got it. Okay, we have a five final bylaw reading. F1.
Move F1. Second.
Second by Councilor Palillo. All in favor? Oppose? Carry. F2. Second by Councilor Bennett. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Oppose? Carry.
Your Worship, before we get to F3, looking back through the minutes, Councilor Clausen was away for the public hearing. So unless she can confirm that she has read through all the minutes and she understands all the arguments, she'll have to remove herself from the vote.
So can I just remove myself but stay in the room, or? do
You'd
I
have to
leave
remove
the
yourself
room?
from the room as well.
I have to leave the room. I'm leaving the room.
Okay. F3. Do I have a mover seconder? Move F3. Move F3 by Councilor Bennett, second by Councilor Palillo. All in favor? Oppose? Carry. Can somebody get?
Sorry,
Trudy
Your
back.
Worship, F4 is also the same property, so if we can do F4 as well, really quick.
Okay. Move F4, second by Councilor Sampson. All in favor? Oppose? Carried.
Thank you.
F5. Moved by Councilors Klassen.
Are you okay with that?
Second by Councilor Skaken. Second by Councilor Skaken. All in favor, F5. Oppose? Carry. Correspondent. G10.
G12.
G12.
13.
13.
Just all of them.
G1 to 18.
And G9 and G.
And G5, please.
Okay, I'm gonna, just let's, I'm gonna go through. Anybody put G1? G2? G2, Councilor Fuzel, the floor is yours.
Just wanted to draw attention to this request for support for the inaugural Ukrainian Street Festival and bring that to our attention. I see there was some discussion of a delegation request through to Mr. Anderson. Is there a delegation upcoming for the group?
Ms. Kellett?
In lieu of a delegation, this correspondence was put on the agenda for council's consideration. So no, there will not be a delegation.
Thank you. And with the request in front of you, is there an opportunity for funding through any of our grant streams? I suspect not. Through to Mr. Dalio, do we have money left in the council contingency at this time?
Sorry, Councillor, I'm trying to recall. I believe you do, and I want to say 13,500 is left.
Great. Well, we do have a budget as requested. We do have an explanation of what it's for. There's a festival. We've had the letter in front of us. So I move that City of Prince George, through council contingency, give a sponsorship contribution of $2,500 to the inaugural community event.
Second by Mayor Yu.
Point of order, Your Worship. I believe our sustainable finance policy has a requirement to refer it to the next meeting as a holdover. So you would also have to include an amendment to break the sustainable finance policy.
Thanks. Through to Mr. Anderson, is that accurate?
Mr. Babish can jump in if he has anything to add. I believe the sustainable finance policy is intended for like delegation asks. I believe an ask through a letter is typically something that you can approve.
Great.
You're correct.
Thank you.
Second by Mayor Yu on this one. Okay. Councilor Scott.
I just wanted to comment, for those that aren't aware, that when the Community Arts Council has a fundraiser, they cook chili, and you compare. These folks are going to cook pierogies.
Yeah. Thank you. Councilor Sampson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor Yu. I'm just looking to staff. Does this type of event typically fall under our existing granting program? Maybe perhaps through to Mr. Beasley.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Sampson, yes, this would, the timing may not work for this specific one. I have actually been in contact with this group and discussed this with them. Typically, this sort of thing could be eligible for a grant. Just as a reminder to council, we do have a policy now about funneling this type of request through the grant stream. We get dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of grant requests every year. And so this was an effort to try and get these one-off requests to lessen for council. Having said that, of course, it's your prerogative if you want to fund this or not. But this is typically something we administration would just say go through the grants process along with the other agencies.
So this is a well-deserving event, Mayor Yu, and I've actually been reached out to by one of the organizers, going to be there and involved and excited about it, love pierogies. There's nothing about this that I don't want to support, but I would be inconsistent if we use our council contingency towards something that would fit within our grant stream. I've consistently voted against stepping outside of our policies and practices, our best practices and precedent that's been set, and I don't think we should do that now. I think it makes it political, and some decisions are, the right decisions aren't always popular, but the popular decisions aren't always right, and I'm not going to support this because it would be inconsistent with how we've applied this over the 4 years. I think this is a well-deserving event, and but I think we should keep consistent with what those funds are intended to be used for, and we've recommended other events like this to go through the grant stream, and we should this as well. If that's said, I'll Mayor Yu?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to correct what I said earlier, that's correct. It should be moved to the subsequent meeting when the request is from council contingency.
Move referral.
Second.
Second, here, okay. That's the end of it. Thank you. Councilor Claassen? Yeah. Councilor Claassen, you want to speak? No?
Now we just go to the vote for the referral to the next meeting.
Yep.
I was in the middle of speaking, so I'll just say if there's interest in expediting this beyond that, I'll go equals with everybody and do this out of my own rather than trying to skirt the policy, but that would be my interest. Thanks.
Okay, all right. G3.
Call a question.
Call the question. All in favor, referral. Opposed? Carried. G3. No pulling G3. G4? G5?
Well, I'm just wondering, Your Worship, but, yeah.
G4, go ahead.
G4 and G,
Councilor Ramsey, G4 is yours.
I think G4 and G5 together, Your Worship. I just thought there's clearly a desire from residents. We have a petition with over 300 signatures for the city to look at considering within city limits water access point for off-leash dogs. I've been to these types of parks in areas along Vancouver Island, and they're really popular. They draw tourism in. People stop with their pets and look for these actively along their travel routes. So I just would like to see if we can refer G4 and G5 back to staff to perhaps return with options for a water access off-leash dog area within the city limits.
Second by Councilor Bennett. All in favor, refer.
just
You want to speak?
to administration, or Councilor Ramsey, I would take it that there's no timeline on this response. Just come back to the new council, I would imagine. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. G5.
Yeah, I think we just dealt with G5.
Okay, G6.
I'll move letter of support.
Second by Councilor Brazil. All in favor? Go ahead, Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just was curious what support looks like on this request. It didn't really specify whether or not they were looking for in-kind support or access to use the facility for free. I just am not, it's not clear what, and so I just was hoping for maybe a little clarity. I'm not sure if Mr. Beasley has any additional information on this event, so.
It's just a letter of support, that's all.
Your Worship, through to Councilor Ramsey, at this point, it is just a letter of support. They are working with my team to hopefully get this event, but so far there's been no request for anything extra whatsoever.
It's a very cool event. I just wanted to make sure we weren't tying ourselves into anything with that.
Yeah, no, there's no strings attached.
Okay, thank you.
Move we write letter of support?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we just did that. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. G7. G8. G8. Go ahead, Councilor Sampson.
Thanks, Mayor. You just want to recognize Kitimat, Quesnel, and Chetwynd for responding to our efforts on the Northern Rural Homeowner Grant, our resolution for UBCM. Appreciate their support, and I think this requires a full court press, so I would like to see us send out our notice one more time to the remaining communities in the north who may not have a chance to review this yet. We need to make sure everybody has a chance to see exactly what's being proposed at UBCM and rally as much support as possible. So I'll move that we send out another blast to our neighbors.
Second by Councilor Scott. All in favor? Sure.
I'm just wondering if it would be beneficial to include more than just Northern BC. I think this resolution was really on the cusp of either being regional or not regional, but the saving grace was the title, really looked at northern rural remote areas that are eligible for the grant. So I'm just wondering if we could maybe consider including any communities that receive the grant as opposed to just those in the NCLGA area.
Great point. Yeah. Great point.
Thank you. So I just would make that amendment, Your Worship.
We have an amendment on the floor, including the other organization as prescribed. All in favor? Carried. The main motion to write a letter of support. Thank you to that. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. G10. Poll. Second by Councilor Fazell. All in, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of recommendation of G10? All in favor? Oppose? Carried. G11.
I'd like to speak to that, Mayor Yu.
That's my own letter.
I'm
Councilor
just-
Claassen, you wanna pull it?
And just everyone, I'm sounding worse than I feel. I feel good. It's just my voice is terrible. I really like to see this, that they're applying for that grant, so I just wish them all the success, and I'm glad that this is happening. Thank you.
Thank you. G12.
Move recommendation.
Second by Councilor Fazell. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. Carried unanimously. G13. G14. G15.
Move all correspondence received.
Do I have seconder? Second, Councilor Sampson. All in favor? Oppose? Second by Councilor Skaken. Meeting, adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Okay.